This is Raja from Penez, which means to think, a show about authors, creators, and influencers who share narratives about their culture and identity. Welcome to the show. Hello, this is Raja with Penez, and today is kind of a special issue. We are live with Arie Monroe. So if you're already having a great night, it might just get better. She is a talented illustrator who has been in the business for more than 15 years and successfully doing so. And at the moment, she's actually drawing a live caricature of myself, which is quite interesting. I'm excited to see how it all turns out. How are you, Arie?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here. It's good to finally meet you. So, tell me, have you always enjoyed illustration?
Yeah, I grew up on cartoons and comics, and it's just something I've always done. So it just turned into a career for me.
All right, and you're a KC native, aren't you?
Yes, I live in Kansas City.
That is awesome. And you went to UMKC, am I right?
Yes, I graduated in, I'm going to date myself. I graduated in 2001.
Okay, yeah, because I'm actually a UMKC student as well.
Oh,
Go
cool.
Roos, yes, can I say that?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so what kind of illustration do you specifically partake in?
I specialize in cartooning. I do comics, children's books, and caricatures is also one of my big parts of my illustration business.
Right. So what made you gravitate towards caricature specifically?
Well, when I was 19 years old, I needed a summer job and I started working at an amusement park. And while I was working there, they trained me how to basically draw people, and that's when I got started for that. Before that, I just wanted to do animation and comics.
Right, because isn't that what you studied at UMKC or
I
graphic
studied
designing?
studio art and graphic design at UMKC.
Interesting. So you had enough passion for it to go and study it and know that that's something you wanted to do
Yeah.
for the rest of your life.
I made up my mind when I was 11.
Wow, 11 years old. I can tell you at 11, I probably thought I was a dentist, and then businesswoman now. So we'll see what happens in 3 years. But you've had a great deal of experience, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Because I read how you actually have illustrated for bigger industries such as DreamWorks and it was DreamWorks and it was Warner Brothers.
Yes,
and many more.
I worked as a character cleanup artist for Warner Brothers, as well as I've worked at Universal Studios, and I worked in the graphics industry doing like coloring books and children's books. Mm-hmm. For other places too, like, I don't know, just so many things, like comic sketch cards and just a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. Where do you find yourself doing most of your work? In
Mm-hmm.
what field?
Right now, I'm a small business owner, and I put most of my attention towards my caricature business at the moment. Mm-hmm. Because that just, I don't know, that's what I'm enjoying right now. And I try to put my other time towards personal projects and passion projects. So doing it that way kind of gives me a chance to work on other things and do other things besides just like working for a company or something
right.
like that all the time.
So what was your experience like working with the bigger industries? Because I know that within the illustration field of work, they lack in diversity. Mm-hmm. So did that kind of impact your work at all? How did that affect you?
You mean in terms of diversity?
Yes.
There's actually quite a bit of diversity like I was living in California when I was working for Warner Brothers, and I met people from all walks of life.
Okay.
So that wasn't really something I found to be a challenge in those areas. I think there's less in some places. It just depends on where you're at. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's just what I found.
Yeah.
But obviously, you know, the arts industry is dominated mostly by guys. So it's it's one of those things where you might be the one female, out of the group.
Okay, so it's more more gender related than it is racially.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
I would say so.
And has that motivated you, or did it ever discourage you in any way?
No, not really. I've had my moments where I've gotten frustrated because, there are things in the caricature business where people just, they judge a book by their cover. They look at you and go, oh, she's probably not as good as everyone else standing there. So they don't want to have you draw their picture until they realize that you might actually be better, and then they want you to draw their picture. Or they're upset that they did that. So it's always on them. It's kind of funny. I had a young lady just last week. I was drawing at a fair with a friend of mine, and I walked up because I had gone to the restroom and come back, and he was sitting there by himself drawing. And I looked at her, and I looked at the crowd, and I said, is anyone waiting to get their picture drawn? And it was funny because she immediately looked at me, and then she looked me up and down and smacked her lips and goes, really?
Oh my God.
I said, yes. Is anyone waiting to get their picture drawn? Do you want to be drawn? I can draw you right now. And then she turned away from me to look at the person who was with her and was like, she said she could draw me right now. And I was like, what is wrong with that? And so she turns around and she's like, I want my picture to be as cute as the one that he's drawing right there. And then she goes and sits down to have me draw her.
Uh-huh.
And
I would just make her picture ugly, to be honest.
And that is something that I've heard a lot of people say that they would do.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're more professional than I am.
Right. I like having a happy customer. And so I drew her picture, and she actually really loved it. So
good, yeah.
She was pleasantly surprised. And she got super excited. Mm-hmm. And, I pride myself on... No, of course not. But I do pride myself on showing people a good time when they're getting a drawing done and sitting down to spend their little 5 minutes of speed dating with me.
Yeah, and I'm sure that comes from your passion for it.
Right.
It makes you happy. So is there a great deal of pressure to keep up with the different, art styles, or... is it ever changing? Is it something that you have to constantly renew and
Well, I'm always trying to be a better artist in general. And I used to really get into following what other people are doing and feeling like I'm good enough artistically. Right. And wanting to be like, oh, I'm, I don't know, I guess competitive in a way is the word mm-hmm. I'm looking for, but not so much anymore. My focus has changed to really developing my own style and just being uniquely myself, because when you're trying to do things in that way, you're just not being authentic, and it, in my opinion, leads to you feeling kind of depressed and unhappy mm-hmm. with what you're doing, especially if you're not living up to so-and-so's ability, or I guess the word's competing in the manner that other people think that you should
Their
be
standards.
Competing. Right. So a long time I did spend a lot of time just really trying to be that person.
Right.
And nowadays I'm really just kind of over it. Mm-hmm. And I used to feel like my work wasn't good enough to be in a book, or good enough to be shown somewhere. And even with the caricatures, for example, I meet a lot of amazing artists mm-hmm. who do them as well. And they're like, you need to exaggerate. You need to be this. You need mm-hmm. to be that. And for me, I've found that my goal is to make the person who's getting their picture drawn happy, show them a good time, not humiliate them, not make them feel uncomfortable, mm-hmm. and give them something they're going to want to be proud of and take home and hang on their wall or share with their family. Yeah. And when when I see a person drawing caricatures and they're super exaggerated and they're sometimes almost grotesque.
Cartoonish.
My stuff's very cartoonish,
Uh-huh.
but it's just, I try to avoid grotesque.
Okay.
I like cute and funny.
I gotcha.
Cute.
So what do you mean by grotesque?
Giant noses and like, you know, boogers and weird, gross humor incorporated into the drawings. I don't know. I feel like there's a time and a place for all of those things.
What do your illustrations consist of? I know you mentioned that you gravitate more towards caricature, but does your culture have anything to do with that at all? Do you include that?
For my traditional illustration work, yes. I think that it's really important to express yourself. Like, one of the things I've learned over the years is when I'm just doing work for other people, it just doesn't have the same life and vibrancy as stuff that I'm doing that represent me and the things going on around me and the people that I know and the things that I know. Mm-hmm. So I've just found that it's really important to put those things into my work because it lacks life. And the things that draw people to a piece of artwork is being able to relate to it. And if I can't relate to the subject matter, like, I can relate to you as I'm speaking to you because I'm getting to know you and we're having conversations. So it comes out into that drawing. Oh. And then I can pull maybe some of your facial expressions or, you know, mannerisms into that drawing. So then you can relate to it, you know. And that's why people enjoy what they get so much, because they see themselves. They don't just see like this grotesque image of themselves or just whatever, however people choose to draw that person. But so when it comes to my personal work, I had to learn that it was just as valid as anything I do for someone else, so that I would invest the time in it. And that's kind of where I'm at right now at this point in time in my career, is investing in what's going to allow me to be successful in terms of making a living, which is the caricature.
It looks like Maru is asking, do you only illustrate people? And she also commented on your works and it's very beautiful.
I draw all kinds of things. I like to draw cats. And I have my own comic character. Her name's Maya Nasha, and I do like the story is like based around the Wizard of Oz, but kind of weird and I don't know.
It's you. It's unique.
Yeah.
So you really try to put your personality onto paper, huh?
Right.
And not everyone has the talent to do that. So So when you're talking to different people, so for instance, I'm making different expressions on my faces right now, right? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get in the mind of like an illustrator, you know, just how do you capture the different expressions? When you're talking to someone, do you think about your work?
Well, I don't actually. I really am focused on drawing what I see.
I gotcha.
It's weird. It really is a weird intuitive thing. It has nothing to do with a specific thought process. And if it did, I think it'd be me making assumptions about the person sitting in front of me. I always tell people that drawing caricatures is like speed dating, because a person sits down in front of you for 5 minutes and then you interview them like you're doing to me right now.
That's true.
And I ask people about their lives. My favorite question is, especially like if I have a couple who sits down, I'm like, so how did you meet? Like, give me the backstory. Was it love at first sight? Aww. And I always get different answers. Like the guy will look at the woman first, like, honey, how should I answer this question? Look on his face.
How do I say this without getting in trouble?
Yes, and I love doing that. It like puts them on the spot, and then you really start to pull like, because you see that they're passionate about each other, and you can pull those things into the drawing.
Oh, that's actually very beautiful. You see the passion, and you want to capture it.
Right.
That's amazing.
Right, because their eyes light up. You know, they're not just sitting there with like this dull expression on their face. And you're like, smile, come on, please smile. You know. So, and then when you show it to them, they're usually really happy because you got something into that drawing that captured a moment for them, you know. I especially have that with couples. With kids, it's a little different because you have to figure out what they identify with.
Oh, okay.
You know?
So you really try to appeal to their personality then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what you want to... Like, I studied animation and I've studied comics, and animation is basically the study of people. You are learning facial expressions, how people move. Like, you know... I don't know if you've ever seen like an animated drawing of someone dancing. Like you have to study those movements. And so I try to bring some of that stuff into the work that I do, you know, like the study of facial expression. And most people want to caricature where they are happy.
Yeah,
they don't want to take something home where they're like pouting or they look angry or
lifeless.
They look insane.
And just where... you know, everything's headed. Do you think that you will start changing up your artwork? And
I already do digital illustration. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. I provide digital caricatures. I do digital painting all the time. So I've been trained in all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I do that stuff. I've actually been thinking that a way to expand my business would be, to provide digital caricatures instead of traditional hand-drawn ones in a live setting. And but there's just, you know, the investment of equipment and things like that have to be done. So but it's a way to upgrade things and take things to another level. You can email people their drawings or print them out or make multiple prints if they want, or they can post them on their social media. It just makes it more convenient and fun. I always loved animation, so, you know, when I was going to school, that was the direction I was wanting to go in. I wanted to work for Warner Brothers and Disney and stuff.
Yeah.
And
I find that crazy. That's amazing that you actually got to work with them.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was a lot of fun. So I went to LA and I was mentoring under an animator, and he's the person who designed The Little Mermaid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You worked with the person who designed The Little Mermaid.
Yes. And he's also the one who got me work at Warner Brothers and was kind of training me and helping me with that whole thing. But the thing about the animation industry that I encountered that it made me feel like, you know, is this the direction I want my life to go in, is a freelance lifestyle. So you work for a company and a TV show ends or a movie ends, and then you get laid off. And then you have to get hired on to that next project. Yeah. And you end up like, okay, well, I'm living in LA right now, but my next job is in San Francisco, or my next job is in Canada, or my next job I might have to go to India. So...
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, there's a huge animation industry in India and
That's amazing.
Yeah, and Korea. Both of those areas are, a lot of work is outsourced
that's
there.
That's very true. Do they fly you out? Or
the company would, but...
Sorry, that might have been a personal question.
Yeah, the company would be the one that would handle those things, but it would be if you were still working there, because it's a freelance basis. So after film ends, or even working in games, you have to find that next job. And, you know, I wasn't sure, like I was looking at, do I want to have a family? Do I want to do all of these other things? Especially becoming, you know, getting older as a woman, you know, like, if you have kids, your life focuses on your kids. And the animation industry is extremely time consuming. You can literally work around the clock, like from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. And some artists do. I had friends who they worked at Paramount Pictures during the day and then went home and freelanced for Warner Brothers and then went to bed and then got up the next morning and did the same thing every single day. And so it's a big balancing act. And then they also were married and they wanted to have kids and they had a dream to be a director and then they had a dream to, you know, do all these things. And I was like, you start to question, is that what I want? And it can also be kind of faceless because, you know, your name goes in the credits, but the credits go like this.
Yes.
Nobody stays
Suddenly
for them.
It's faster towards the end.
I mean, if you've ever watched one of the superhero movies like Avengers, the credits are like 5 minutes long, and it's like they have to put something at the end of the movie to make you stay.
I always wait for that reason.
Yeah, that's the only reason. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not going to sit there.
I'm going to look out for your name from now on.
But, like, you become kind of nameless, faceless. And the name that's on the film is going to be Disney, or it's going to be, you know. Yeah. So it's like if you want to have a name for yourself as a creator, you have to create your own projects. And in order to do those creator-owned projects, you kind of have to disconnect yourself from the industry and do for yourself. I mean, like, have your own business and stuff, because it's just not possible to balance all of that. I mean, it is. Some people do, but eventually they still end up leaving, you know, and doing their own thing. So
when did you actually, you know, gain the confidence to share your artwork? I mean, we're live right now and you're drawing me.
Well, that comes from doing caricature, actually. I was very, very, very shy, and like it forces you to have to talk to people and have people staring over your shoulder. Yeah. And a lot of artists cannot handle that, and so it's one of those things that I cultivated over time. You know, I had to get used to it if I wanted to do this. Yes. So I guess in a way it's been very good for me. But are you ready to see your picture?
It's ready? Yeah. Oh, that's actually so pretty. I love that. I'm going to keep this forever. See? I seriously love this. Oh, it's beautiful. And my nose isn't big. So that's should I? They probably saw it because you were drawing it the entire time.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
My eyelashes they're on point, aren't they?
There you go.
That's so
and
beautiful.
And you always have to get the eyebrows on fleek.
Right? Definitely. I try. So I'm glad you captured that. Thank you so much. And she's asking, is there anything you haven't done? Anything you're wanting to do and haven't done yet?
I want to actually do a finished book at some point.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've started books, and I've done sketchbooks and things like that, that I've sold books with my drawings in them, but I want to actually write and complete a story and have it out there and make little things with my characters and have my own little merchandise and stuff.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you started your own company.
Yes. I guess you could say that. When you're an artist for a living, you are going to be an entrepreneur, and that's something that they don't teach you in school. That you won't always be able to rely on working for a company. People get laid off. Their styles go out of, I guess, what's the word? Like, they stop being popular, like, because styles in the art world change. Right. So the way you might draw might not be appealing to the company, so then they don't want you anymore.
I gotcha.
You know, so you have to be an entrepreneur to be a creative. Yeah. It just comes with the game, and it's something that students don't learn. They think they can just go draw and they'll make lots of money and be happy and support their families, but that's really just not the case.
Yeah, and you want to stick to your standard and your image, and so you've created an establishment.
Yeah.
And it's in your name. It's your own.
Every year it grows, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you nurture it, and it grows every year. You know, I started Draw Like Crazy as an official business in 2015, I want to say. And the first year was pretty hard. And, you know, I went through some life stuff because my mom was sick, and I was, you know, going through things with her. But I've seen things just every year increase, you know. It's a gradual process. And I think every business goes through that, you know. As a business owner, I mean, the more you put yourself out there, the more people will find you, the more your business will grow. It's natural. That's just how.
It's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah. Like this year alone, traveled to Chicago.
Yeah.
Last year I went to New York, I work not only running my own business, but I also work with other small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So I work with a company called Sketched, and like they travel to India and Paris and do events.
Wow.
And I'll go with them, hopefully within the next year once I get all of that stuff worked out, and travel and do what I enjoy and get to see something. Like they had a team that went to Hawaii while I was in Chicago this past year.
Oh.
I mean, actually like 2 weeks ago. So there's opportunities to network with people, and they encourage us to be on social media, sharing what we're doing with them as well. So like they allow me to promote myself as an incentive, almost like, hey, people like my work, I'm going to be at this event, come out and see Arie, who's going to be there, and so and it's really funny, you will get return customers, oh, you drew my picture last year, I want another one of my family, this time I brought my dog, and that happens. And so you start to see people coming back to you on a regular basis. Like I had a couple that every year I do like a holiday themed caricature for them, and it's usually painted, and I've done one every year for like the last 3 years. So like it's a business, and sometimes I'm like, it just doesn't feel like, it just feels like I'm doing what I always did. I'm not doing anything special. But then you realize, no, it's just growing, and it's
when the money is rolling in,
and you start to do better and better.
So what kind of advice would you give out to artists who are also hoping to achieve what you have?
Stay open-minded and learn to talk to people, because a lot of creatives are very shy, and they can't get anywhere because they don't socialize. And like the biggest part of running a business is your customer. If you can't talk to your customer, you don't have anything.
Right, having that relationship.
Right. I mean, unless, like, some people go work for a company, and that's fine too. They want to get their paycheck every week, and they like the ease and simplicity, and they build that relationship, and that's the only one. But I've seen companies go out of business because they only had that one relationship, and then a disaster hits, and the whole thing tanks and falls apart up under them because they didn't socialize, they didn't build,
there wasn't that
generate a
touch.
Network. There's a interesting thing that one artist whose work I follow online, he said that you have to look at your career, and you look at your income streams as legs on a table. So you have 4 legs. You've got, I have my caricature leg, which is probably the predominant one, and I have my illustration leg, which is like working on my personal work that brings in smaller amount of income but still brings in income. And then I have my other leg where I'm working with people who help me get work, like booking agents, and things like that. So they'll call me and send me on. So that's 3 legs right there. So I'm doing my thing, and then I got these other legs that help to support the tabletop, and I'm hoping that my 4th leg will eventually be, I don't know, like something that I also continue to enjoy doing, but that's completely just, I don't care if it makes money or not, but it's just
something to keep
there.
the table stable.
Yeah.
That rhymes. Well, thank you so much for being here. I think this interview went beautifully.
Well, thank you for having me.
Once again, very nice to meet you.
It's nice meeting you too.
To listen to more creatives and influencers, visit www.penez.com.